On New Year's Eve, she signs the divorce papers in tears, unaware her ex-husband is the mafia boss. The pen trembles between her fingers as the clock on the wall ticks toward midnight. Outside the window of her small Brooklyn apartment, fireworks begin to explode across the Manhattan skyline, painting the sky in bursts of gold and crimson. But Elena Martinez feels nothing. Not the celebration, not the promise of a new beginning, only the weight of an ending she never wanted. The divorce papers sit on the kitchen table, already signed by him. His signature is sharp, decisive, final, just like everything else about Dominic Castellano. She remembers the day she met him 7 years ago at a coffee shop in Greenwich Village. He was wearing a simple grey sweater, reading a book about architecture. Nothing about him suggested danger. Nothing about him suggested the empire he controlled from the shadows. She met him when she was 23, fresh out of nursing school, working double shifts at a Manhattan hospital. He walked into her life like a quiet storm, all calm words and intense eyes. He told her he worked in real estate, import and export, family business. She believed him because she wanted to believe him, because when he looked at her, she felt like the only woman in the world. They married within a year, a small ceremony in upstate New York, surrounded by people she did not know. His family, he said, business associates. She remembers the way they looked at her, with curiosity, with calculation, with something she could not name. But Dominic held her hand through it all, and she trusted him. She trusted him completely. For 5 years, they built a life together in a brownstone in Park Slope. She continued working at the hospital. He continued his mysterious meetings, his late-night phone calls, his trips that lasted days without explanation. She learned not to ask questions. She learned that some doors in their home were always locked. She learned that the men who visited wore expensive suits and spoke in hushed tones, and that they always fell silent when she entered the room. But she loved him. Despite the secrets, despite the silences, she loved him with everything she had. And when she told him she was pregnant, the look on his face, that mixture of terror and joy, made her believe that everything would finally make sense, that he would finally let her in. She lost the baby at 12 weeks. The doctor said it was nothing she did wrong. These things happen. But something broke inside her that day, and something broke between them too. Dominic became distant. He stopped coming home for dinner. He stopped looking at her the way he used to, and when she finally confronted him, demanding answers, demanding the truth, he gave her something worse than silence. He gave her the divorce papers. That was 3 months ago. For 3 months, she has been living in this tiny apartment, working extra shifts to afford the rent, trying to rebuild a life that feels like borrowed clothes. Her friends tell her she is better off. Her mother tells her she deserves someone who can give her a normal life. But Elena does not want normal. She wants answers. She wants to understand why the man who promised to love her forever walked away without explanation. The pen hovers over the signature line. Her name, her consent, her surrender. Outside, the countdown begins. 10, 9, 8. She thinks about the last time she saw him. 2 weeks. Ago, when he came to collect the rest of his things. He stood in the doorway of this apartment, looking at her with eyes that held something she could not read. Regret, maybe. Or resignation. He opened his mouth as if to speak, but no words came. And then he was gone, leaving behind only the scent of his cologne and the ghost of everything they had been. 7, 6, 5. Elena signs her name. The ink bleeds into the paper like a wound that will never heal. 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year. The fireworks reach their crescendo, filling the sky with light and sound. Eleanor sits alone at her kitchen table, the signed papers before her, tears streaming down her face. She does not know that across the river, in a penthouse overlooking Central Park, her ex-husband is watching the same fireworks with the same broken expression. She does not know that the divorce was never about falling out of love. She does not know that Dominic Castellano signed those papers to save her life. And she certainly does not know that in the world she is about to enter, her ex-husband is not a real estate developer. He is the head of the most powerful crime family on the eastern seaboard, a man whose name is spoken in whispers, a man whose enemies do not live long enough to speak it twice, but she is about to find out. The knock on her door comes at 12:15, just as she is pouring herself a glass of wine. The sound is sharp, urgent, unexpected. Elena freezes. She is not expecting anyone. Her friends are at parties. Her mother is in Florida. No one knows she is spending New Year's Eve alone, drowning in grief and cheap Cabernet. She approaches the door slowly, her heart beginning to race. Through the peephole, she sees a face she recognizes, but cannot place. A woman, maybe 50, with silver hair and worried eyes. Elena opens the door a crack, leaving the chain in place. The woman speaks quickly, her accent thick and Eastern European. "Elena Castellano, you must come with me. Tao, your life is in danger." Elena's blood runs cold. "Who are you? How do you know my name?" "There is no time to explain. They are coming. If you want to live, you must come with me now." As if to punctuate her words, the sound of footsteps echoes from the stairwell below. Heavy, fast. Too many to be neighbors returning from celebrations. Elena's nursing training kicks in. Assess, prioritize, act. She does not know this woman. She does not understand what is happening. But every instinct in her body is screaming that the footsteps below are not friendly. She unlatches the chain. The woman grabs her hand and pulls her into the hallway, toward the fire escape at the end of the corridor. Behind them, the footsteps grow louder. Elena hears voices, men's voices, speaking in rapid Italian. She catches only fragments. The wife. Find her. Bring her to Victor. They burst through the fire escape door and descend the metal stairs into the alley below. The January air is brutal, cutting, through Elena's thin sweater like a blade. She's wearing slippers. She left everything behind, her phone, her wallet, her signed divorce papers. A black SUV waits at the end of the alley, its engine running. The woman pushes Elena inside and climbs in after her. The driver, a massive man with a shaved head and neck tattoos, pulls away before the door is even closed. Elena presses herself against the leather seat, her entire body trembling. "Where are you taking me? Who are those men? What is happening?" The silver-haired woman turns to face her. In the glow of the passing streetlights, Elena can see the exhaustion in her eyes, the fear, the determination. "My name is Marta. I have worked for the Castellano family for 30 years, and those men, they work for Victor Antonov. He wants you because you are the only thing Dominic has ever loved, and Victor wants to destroy everything Dominic loves." Elena's mind reels. Castellano family, Victor Antonov. None of these words make sense. "I do not understand. Dominic works in real estate. Marta's laugh is bitter. "Real estate, yes, he owns half of Manhattan, but not through mortgages and contracts, child. Through power, through fear, through blood. Your husband, your ex-husband, is the head of the Castellano crime family, the most powerful organization on the East Coast. And tonight, on New Year's Eve, his enemies have decided to strike." The words land like punches. Elena cannot breathe, cannot think. The man she married, the man she loved, the man whose child she carried for 12 weeks before her body betrayed her, a crime boss, a mafia don, a man whose world is built on shadows and violence. "No," she whispers. "That is not possible. I would have known. I would have seen." "You saw what he wanted you to see, what he needed you to see. Dominic loved you enough to protect you from the truth, and now that protection has made you a target." The SUV speeds through the empty streets of Brooklyn, heading toward the bridge. Elena watches the city lights blur past the window, her entire understanding of her life collapsing like a house of cards in a hurricane. She spent 5 years married to a man she did not know, 5 years building a life on lies, 5 years loving a ghost, and now that ghost's enemies want her. The SUV crosses the Williamsburg Bridge and heads uptown. Elena asks where they are going, but Marta only shakes her head. Somewhere safe, somewhere Victor cannot reach. Safe. The word feels foreign now. Elena does not know what safe means anymore. She does not know what anything means. 20 minutes later, they pull up to a building Elena has never seen, a converted warehouse in a quiet corner of Tribeca, its windows dark, its entrance unmarked. Marta leads her inside through a service entrance, up a freight elevator, and into a space that takes her breath away. The loft is enormous, spanning the entire floor of the building. Exposed brick walls, soaring ceilings, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Hudson River. And everywhere she looks, signs of wealth, original artwork, designer furniture, a kitchen that belongs in a magazine. But what catches her attention are the men. A dozen of them, at least, stationed throughout the space. They wear dark suits and earpieces. They carry themselves with the coiled tension of soldiers, and they all turn to look at her when she enters. One of them steps forward, a younger man with kind eyes and a concerned expression. "Mrs. Castellano, I am Marco, head of security. You are safe here. No one knows about this location except our most trusted people." Mrs. Castellano. The name feels like a knife in her heart. She is not Mrs. Castellano anymore. She signed the papers, she ended the marriage. But apparently in this world, paper means nothing. "Where is Dominic?" she asks, surprising herself with the steadiness of her voice. Marco and Marta exchange a look that Elena cannot interpret. "He is handling the situation," Marco says carefully. "Viktor Antonov launched a coordinated strike tonight. Multiple locations, multiple targets. Dominic is ensuring the safety of his people." His people, not her. She is not his people anymore. "I want to see him." "That is not possible right now. For your safety and his, it is better if—" "I do not care what is better." Elena's voice rises. The shock is giving way to anger now. "I spent 5 years married to a man who apparently runs a criminal empire. I just fled my apartment in my slippers because men with guns were coming to kidnap me. I think I have earned some answers." The room falls silent. The security team shifts uncomfortably. Even Marta looks uncertain. And then a voice comes from the shadows near the window. Deep, familiar, haunted. "You deserve more than answers. You deserve the truth. All of it." Elena turns. And there he is, Dominic Castellano, her ex-husband, the man she loved, the man she lost, the man she never really knew. He steps into the light, and she sees him clearly for the first time since he walked out of her apartment 2 weeks ago. He looks older, tired. There are shadows under his eyes and tension in his jaw. He's wearing a dark suit, impeccably tailored, but there is something different about the way he carries himself now, something harder, more dangerous. This is not the man who brought her coffee in bed on Sunday mornings. This is not the man who cried when she told him she was pregnant. This is not the man who held her hand during the procedure when they lost their baby. This is someone else entirely. This is the real Dominic Castellano. "Elena," he says her name like a prayer, like a wound. "I am so sorry." She wants to scream at him. She wants to hit him. She wants to demand explanations for every lie, every secret, every moment of her marriage that was built on deception. But all she can do is stand there, trembling in her slippers, and ask the only question that matters. "Why?" Dominic crosses the room slowly, as if approaching a wounded animal. He stops a few feet away, close enough for her to see the pain in his eyes, close enough for her to smell his cologne, the same scent that clung to the pillow for weeks after he left. "Because I loved you," he says quietly. "Because I still love you. And because in my world, love is a weakness that gets people killed." Check if you are already subscribed to this channel. If you enjoy stories that reveal the hidden truths behind impossible, love stories that will keep you holding your breath until the very last word, then you belong here. Subscribe now, because what happens next will change everything you think you know about loyalty, sacrifice, and the dangerous price of love. The silence between them stretches like a wire pulled too tight. Elena stands in the middle of the enormous loft, surrounded by armed men and expensive furniture, facing the man who was supposed to be her forever. The man who turned out to be a stranger. Dominic waits. He has always been patient. It is one of the things she used to love about him, the way he could sit in silence without needing to fill it with words. But now that patience feels different, calculated, strategic. "Tell me everything," she says finally, "from the beginning." He nods slowly, gesturing toward a seating area near the windows. The security team melts into the background, giving them privacy while remaining alert. Marta brings coffee, strong, black, the way Elena always takes it. Even now, even in the midst of chaos, the small kindness threatens to undo her. They sit across from each other, the city lights painting shifting shadows across the floor. Dominic takes a breath, and when he speaks, his voice is steady but raw. My family has controlled organized operations in New York for 4 generations. My great-grandfather started in the construction business, legitimate work that funded less legitimate activities. My grandfather expanded into shipping, logistics, unions. My father made the name Castellanos something to fear. Elena listens without interrupting. She has spent 5 years with this man. She knows his tells. The slight tension in his shoulders when he is uncomfortable, the way he looks down when discussing something painful. I never wanted this life, Dominic continues. I studied architecture in college. I wanted to build things, not destroy them. But when my father died, when I was 28, there was no one. Else my brother Marco had neither the temperament nor the desire. My mother was already sick. The organization would have collapsed or been consumed by rivals, so I stepped in. You became a criminal. The word hangs in the air between them. Dominic does not flinch. Yes, I became a criminal. I took over an empire built on fear and force. I made decisions that would horrify you. I ordered things that I cannot take back, and I learned to live with it because the alternative was worse. What? Its alternative? War, chaos, the destruction of everything my family built and everyone who depended on it. We employ thousands of people, Elena. Legitimate businesses, charitable foundations, community programs. For every illegal operation, there are 10 legal ones that would collapse without the structure we provide. I told myself I was protecting something larger than myself. I still tell myself that. Elena processes his words, trying to reconcile them with the man she married. The man who donated anonymously to her hospital. The man who volunteered at soup kitchens on Thanksgiving. The man who cried at sad movies and could not kill the spider in their bathroom. When did you decide to lie to me? She asks. Before we met? After? Before. His voice breaks slightly on the word. I saw you at that coffee shop and I knew you were different. Pure. Good. Everything I could never be. And I told myself I would just talk to you. Just one conversation. Just to feel. For one moment, what it was like to be seen by someone who did not know what I was. But one conversation became 2, became coffee every morning, became dinner, became falling in love so hard and so fast that I could not stop it. And by the time I should have told you the truth, I was already lost. I could not bear the thought of you looking at me the way you are looking at me now. Elena realizes there are tears on her cheeks. She wipes them away angrily. So you married me. You let me believe I knew who you were. You let me build a life on lies. I built walls, he says, compartments. I kept my 2 worlds completely separate. The brownstone was clean. No business, no visitors, no evidence of anything illegal. I thought I could give you a normal life inside an abnormal reality. I thought if I loved you enough, protected you enough, none of the darkness would touch you. But it did touch me. Her voice is barely a whisper. The baby... Dominic's face crumples. For a moment, the powerful crime boss disappears, and all that remains is a man who lost a child. The baby was not Elena. The baby was not because of anything in my world. The doctors said it happens. 12 weeks. A routine loss. She laughs bitterly. But I have spent months wondering. Was it the stress? The secrets I could feel but not name? The part of you that was always somewhere else? I do not know. His honesty is brutal. I have asked myself the same questions. I have blamed myself every day. And when you confronted me, demanding answers, demanding the truth, I realized I could not give you either without destroying everything. So I gave you the divorce papers instead. You pushed me away to protect me. I pushed you away because Viktor Antonov had started making threats, because he had photographs of you, at the hospital, at the grocery store, walking through our neighborhood, because he made it clear that if I did not step down, he would take everything from me, starting with you. The name again, Viktor Antonov. Elena files it away, adding it to the growing list of things she needs to understand. Who is he? A rival, Russian, ruthless. He controls operations from Boston to Philadelphia and has wanted to expand into New York for years. My father kept him at bay through fear and force. I have tried a different approach: negotiation, boundaries, mutual benefit. But Victor does not want cooperation. He wants domination. And he thinks kidnapping me will give him leverage. He thinks hurting you will break me. And he is right. Dominic leans forward, his eyes intense. Elena, I divorced you because I thought distance would make you safe. I thought if you were no longer Mrs. Castellano, if we were legally separated, Victor would have no reason to target you. I was wrong. He sees you as my weakness, whether you wear my ring or not. So what happens now? Now you stay here under protection until the situation with Victor is resolved. Resolved? You mean until he is dealt with? Dominic's jaw tightens. I mean until he is no longer a threat. Elena stands abruptly, pacing toward the windows. The city sprawls below her, millions of lights, millions of lives, all of them unaware of the drama unfolding in this converted warehouse. I cannot stay here indefinitely. I have a job. I have a life. What is left of it anyway? Your apartment is not safe. We moved your things, clothes, important documents. Anything you might need, everything is here. She spins to face him. You went through my things? Marta did, with respect and care. I would never... You would never what? Invade my privacy? Lie to me? Make decisions about my life without consulting me? She laughs, and the sound is harsh. You have done all of those things, Dominic. Our entire marriage was built on you deciding what I needed to know. He stands too, but does not approach her. You are right, and I cannot change the past. I can. Only try to keep you alive in the present. The words hang between them, heavy with implication. Keep you alive, not a figure of speech, a literal statement of intent. How dangerous is this? She asks quietly. Victor has made 3 attempts on my life in the last month. He has targeted members of my organization, their families. He is not playing by the old rules. He wants total destruction. 3 attempts on your life. Elena absorbs this. When you came to get your things from my apartment 2 weeks ago, how were you in danger then? A pause. Then, yes. And you came anyway. I needed to see you. One more time. His voice drops. I thought it might be the last time. Something shifts in Eleanor's chest. Anger is still there, burning hot. But underneath it, something else. Something that refuses to die no matter how many lies are stacked on top of it. You are an idiot, she says. A ghost of a smile crosses his face. I have been called worse. You should have told me the truth. From the beginning, you should have trusted me. And if I had told you on our 3rd date that I was the head of a crime family, would you have stayed? The question is not rhetorical. He genuinely wants to know. Elena thinks about it, really thinks. The woman she was at 23, idealistic, naive, raised by a mother who believed in rules and righteousness. Would that woman have fallen in love with a criminal? Would she have seen past the title to the man underneath? I do not know, she admits, but I would have had the choice. You took that from me. I know, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to earn your forgiveness. The rest of your life might not be very long if Victor Antonov has his way. Then I will spend whatever time I have left. They stand there, separated by feet that feel like miles. The security team moves quietly in the background. Somewhere in the city, a war is brewing that Elena cannot see but can almost taste in the air. What do you need me to do? She asks finally. Stay here, stay safe, let my people protect you. And you? I have work to do. He moves toward the door, and something in Elena refuses to let him leave. Not like this. Not with everything still unresolved between them. Dominic, he stops, turning to face her. Thank you for getting me out tonight, for having people watching over me even after... I never stopped watching over you, Elena. The divorce changed the paperwork. It did not change how I feel. And then he is gone, leaving her alone with her thoughts and a dozen armed guards and a completely shattered understanding of her own life. The next few days pass in a strange rhythm. Elena explores the loft, finding it stocked with everything she could need. Her clothes from the apartment, her favorite books. Even the expensive face cream she allows herself as a monthly indulgence. Marta becomes her primary companion, a constant presence who provides both company and information. The older woman has been with the Castellano family since before Dominic was born. She served his mother, witnessed his transformation from idealistic architecture student to reluctant crime boss, and quietly orchestrated his meeting with Elena at that coffee shop 7 years ago. "You planned it?" Elena asks on the third day as they sit together in the kitchen. "The coffee shop." "Planned is a strong word," Marta says carefully. "Let us say I created opportunities." Dominic was drowning in darkness, running. The organization dealing with threats, becoming harder every day. "I saw you at the hospital once. I was there visiting a cousin. And something about you struck me. Light, warmth, everything he needed and could never find in his world. So you manipulated us into meeting. I suggested he try a new coffee shop. The rest was fate." Eleanor turns this over in her mind. The grand romantic story of their meeting, chance encounter, instant connection, love at first sight, was actually orchestrated by a 60-year-old housekeeper with matchmaking instincts. Does he know? He suspects. He has never asked directly. I think he does not want confirmation that even his love story was arranged. Our love was real. Whatever brought us together, what we built was real. I know, child. I have watched you both for 7 years. The way he looked at you, the way he still looks at you, that is not performance. That is a man who found his soul and lost it in the same breath. Eleanor stares out the window at the January sky, grey, cold, unforgiving. What happens if Victor wins? Marta's silence is answer enough. On the 5th day, Dominic returns. He looks worse than before, exhausted, strained, carrying the weight of decisions Elena cannot imagine. He finds her in the kitchen, attempting to cook dinner from whatever ingredients she could locate. "Pasta," she says by way of greeting. "It is all I know how to make. Your pasta was always my favorite." They move around each other, carefully maintaining distance while sharing space. It reminds Elena of their last months together, when the silences grew longer and the touches grew fewer. "How bad is it?" she asks as she drains the noodles. "Bad. Victor has more resources than we anticipated. He has been planning this for years, waiting for the right moment to strike. And New Year's Eve was the right moment. Symbolic, new year, new order. He wanted to announce his arrival by taking everything from me in one night. But he did not succeed. Not yet." Dominic sits at the kitchen island watching her cook. "We lost people, Elena. Good people. Families are mourning because of decisions I made years ago. That is not your fault. Everything in my world is my fault. That is what it means to be in charge." She plates the pasta, simple with garlic and olive oil and whatever herbs she could find, and sets it before him. For a moment, they are just two people sharing a meal, a husband and wife, despite the divorce. Papers, a man and woman with history written into every glance. "I missed this," Dominic says quietly. "I missed you. You could have had this, every day, if you had told me the truth. Would you have stayed?" She considers lying, considers telling him that yes, of course, love conquers all, but she has had 5 days to think and she owes him honesty even if he never gave it to her. "I do not know, but I would have had the chance to decide." A week passes. Then 2. Elena exists in a strange limbo, suspended between her old life and whatever this new reality will become. She contacts the hospital, takes an indefinite leave of absence, citing family emergency. She reaches out to her mother, keeps the conversation vague, promises to visit soon. She does everything expected of someone whose life has been upended, all while living in a luxury loft under armed guard. Dominic comes and goes. Sometimes he stays for hours, sharing meals, sharing silence, trying to rebuild something that was never built on solid ground. Other times he is gone for days, returning with new shadows under his eyes and fewer words to share. Through Marta and Marco, Elena pieces together the scope of what she has married into. The Castellano organization is vast. Not just crime, but legitimate business. Real estate holdings worth billions, construction companies, import businesses, Charitable foundations, political connections. How much of it is legal? She asks Marco one afternoon. More than you would. Think. Dominic has been transitioning operations for years, moving away from traditional activities, focusing on legitimate enterprises. It is a slow process. You cannot dismantle an empire overnight, but he is committed to it. Why? Marco hesitates. Because of you. Because the day he married you, he decided he wanted to be someone you could be proud of, someone who could eventually walk in the light without looking over his shoulder. The revelation hits Eleanor harder than she expects. All those years of secrets, and underneath it all, a man trying to change, trying to become worthy of a love he thought he had stolen under false pretenses. 3 weeks after New Year's Eve, everything changes again. Elena is reading in the living area when Dominic arrives with an entourage of grim-faced men. His expression is darker than she has ever seen, not angry, but resolved, final. We have located Victor's main operation, he tells her without preamble. Tonight, we end this. The weight of his words presses against her chest. End this. She knows what that means. She knows the world she has been thrust into does not resolve conflicts through negotiation and compromise. What will you do? What needs to be done? Dominic, she stands, crossing to him. What exactly are you planning? He looks at her, and for a moment, the mask slips. Underneath the crime boss, underneath the decisive leader, there is a man who is terrified. Victor has been systematically targeting everyone connected to me. 3 days ago, his people went after Marco's sister. She escaped, but barely. Yesterday, we intercepted a plan to attack the children's wing of a hospital where I serve on the board, simply because I fund it. Eleanor's stomach turns. Children. Innocent lives caught in a war between men and their empires. He is not fighting for territory anymore, Dominic continues. He is fighting for destruction, total annihilation. And the only way to stop someone like that is to end their ability to fight. You mean end them? A muscle in his jaw tightens. Yes. She should be horrified. The woman she was before, the nurse who believed in healing, in second chances, in the fundamental goodness of human beings, would be horrified. But she has spent 3 weeks in this world now. She has heard the stories, seen the evidence, felt the weight of what Victor Antonov represents, and somewhere deep inside her, in a place she did not know existed, she understands. I want you to come back, she says quietly. Whatever happens tonight, whoever you become to do what needs to be done, I want you to come back. Dominic's breath catches. Elena, I am not saying I forgive you. I am not saying we can rebuild what was broken. But I am saying that I do not want to live in a world where you do not exist. So whatever you do tonight, make sure you survive it. He takes her face in his hands, the way he used to do when they were newlyweds, when the world was simple, and their love was the only thing that mattered. His thumb traces the curve of her cheekbone, memorizing her features as if he might never see them again. I love you, he says. I have loved you since the moment I saw you, and I will love you until I stop breathing. Everything I have done, the lies, the divorce, the distance, it was all to protect this, to protect you, because you are the only good thing I have ever had, and I would burn the world to keep you safe. Tears spill down her cheeks. She does not stop them. Then burn it, and come home. He kisses her forehead, soft and lingering, and then he is gone, surrounded by his men, heading toward a confrontation that will define everything. Eleanor stands in the empty loft, listening to the silence. The hours that follow are the longest of her life. She cannot eat, cannot read, cannot focus on anything except the clock on the wall and the phone in her hand that refuses to ring. Marta sits with her, knitting in the corner, providing presence without pressure. The security team moves through their rotations, professional and alert. At midnight, Marco's radio crackles. Elena's head snaps up, her heart hammering. She cannot hear the words, but she watches Marco's face for any sign of what has happened. Relief. That is what she sees. Overwhelming, bone-deep relief. He is safe, Marco tells her. It is over. Victor is no longer a threat. Eleanor does not ask for details. She does not want to know exactly what happened in the darkness of this January night. She only wants one thing. When will he be back? A few hours. There are matters to handle, authorities to manage, but he will be here before dawn. She nods, sinking onto the couch, her entire body trembling with released tension. It is over. Whatever it was, however it happened, it is over. Marta brings her tea. The security team relaxes slightly. The city outside the windows continues its indifferent spinning, unaware that empires have shifted in the shadows. At 4 in the morning, the elevator doors open. Dominic steps out alone. He looks like a man who has walked through fire, exhausted, haunted, but alive. So alive. Elena rises from the couch and crosses to him without thinking. She wraps her arms around him, pressing her face against his chest, feeling his heartbeat against her cheek. He holds her tightly, burying his face in her hair, and they stand there, in the grey pre-dawn light, saying nothing. Words are not necessary, not yet. For now there is only this, two broken people holding each other together. If you are watching this and feeling something right now, something in your chest that you cannot name, then leave a comment with the words, "Love survives everything." Let me know that you understand what it means to find hope in the darkness. The weeks following Victor's defeat pass in a strange kind of healing. Elena learns more about Dominic's world, not the violent parts, but the intricate systems that keep everything running. The legitimate businesses that provide jobs for thousands, the charitable foundations that fund hospitals and schools, the political connections that could be used for corruption but are instead leveraged for community improvement. She sees a different side of her ex-husband, the leader who commands respect not through fear but through fairness, the strategist who thinks 10 moves ahead, the man who remembers every employee's name, asks about their families, attends their children's graduations. "This is not what I expected," she admits one evening, after watching him spend 3 hours in a community center teaching chess to kids from underprivileged neighborhoods. "What did you expect?" Scarface, The Godfather, darkness and violence and moral bankruptcy. Dominic's laugh is tired but genuine. "Hollywood has done my profession no favors. Yes, there is darkness. Yes, there are things I have done that I cannot take back. But there is also this community, responsibility, the understanding that power without purpose is just destruction." "You sound like a philosophy professor. I studied philosophy for 2 years before switching to architecture, occupational hazard." She is beginning to see him clearly for the first time. Not the man she married, the carefully constructed facade of normalcy, not the crime boss, the cold figure of power and violence, but the actual human being underneath, with all his contradictions and complications. He is trying to be better, has been trying for years. The transition toward legitimate business, the philanthropic work, the careful distancing from the darker aspects of his inheritance, all of it has been a slow, deliberate march toward redemption. And she realizes with something approaching wonder that she was part of that journey. Her presence in his life, her love, her belief in him, these things gave him something to change for. "I want to help," she says one morning, surprising them. Both. "Help how?" "The foundation work, the medical outreach. You fund a mobile clinic that serves underserved neighborhoods. I saw the reports. I am a nurse, Dominic, a good one. Let me actually contribute instead of sitting here feeling useless." He stares at her for a long moment, something shifting behind his eyes. "You would do that, knowing where the money comes from?" "The money is transitioning to legitimate sources. You told me that. And even if it were not, those kids need medical care. Those families need help. The source of funding does not change their need." That is a very pragmatic moral position. I have had a lot of time to think about morality lately. It is more complicated than I was raised to believe. The mobile clinic becomes her anchor. 3 days a week, Elena rides in a converted bus through neighborhoods most people avoid. She treats minor injuries, administers vaccinations, provides basic health education. The work is exhausting and heartbreaking and profoundly satisfying. She sees up close what the Castellano resources can accomplish, medical supplies that appear without paperwork, medications that would cost families their entire savings, provided free, social workers who connect people with housing and food assistance, a network of support that operates outside official channels but delivers tangible results. "This is what you meant," she tells Dominic one evening, returning home exhausted but fulfilled. "About power without purpose, being destruction. You have been building purpose into your power. Trying to, it is not enough, it will never be enough, but it is something." She kisses him, not the desperate, grief-soaked kisses of their reunion, but something softer, a choice rather than an impulse. "It is something," she agrees. February melts into March, the city thaws, and something between them thaws as well. They are not back together, not officially, not legally. The divorce papers remain signed, filed, finalized. But Elena has stopped sleeping in the guest room. She has stopped calling him her ex-husband. She has stopped pretending that the connection between them can be severed by paperwork. One evening, Dominic finds her on the rooftop terrace, watching the sunset paint Manhattan in shades of gold and amber. "I have something to tell you," he says, sitting beside her. Her stomach tightens. In her experience, that phrase never precedes good news. Victor's network is completely dismantled. His former operations have been absorbed or eliminated. There are no active threats against you anymore. She processes this. "So I can leave, go back to my apartment, resume my normal life." "Yes." The word hangs between them. She could leave. She could return to the tiny Brooklyn apartment and the extra shifts and the lonely nights, wondering where everything went wrong. She could pretend the last 2 months never happened. "Is that what you want?" she asks. "No." His voice is raw. "What I want is for you to stay. What I want is to spend every morning watching you drink your coffee and every night falling asleep beside you. What I want is to earn back what I destroyed through 5 years of lies. But you are giving me the choice. I should have given you the choice from the beginning. It is the only thing I can offer now." Eleanor looks out at the city that has become her home, the city that hides empires in its shadows, the city where she fell in love with a man she did not know, and somehow loves him still. "I want to stay," she says, "but I want things to be different. No more secrets, no more locked doors. If I'm going to be part of your life, really part of it, then I need to know what that means. Everything. I will tell you everything, show you everything, whatever you want to know. Even the parts you're ashamed of? Especially those." She reaches for his hand, threading her fingers through his. "Then I will stay, and we will figure out the rest together." The months that follow are an education. Elena learns about supply chains and logistics and the delicate balance of power that keeps the city running. She attends meetings, not the violent ones, those are increasingly rare, but the business meetings, the foundation board meetings, the community planning sessions. She meets the people who work for Dominic, not the soldiers and enforcers of popular imagination, but lawyers and accountants and business developers, men and women who have families, who coach little league teams and volunteer at soup kitchens, people who are trying, like Dominic, to build something legitimate from foundations laid in shadow. "You are changing them," Marco observes one afternoon. "The organization, the way we operate. Your presence changes the calculus." "How so?" "Before you, Dominic was focused on survival, maintaining power, eliminating threats. Now he talks about legacy, about what happens after, about building something that can exist in the light. That seems like a lot to attribute to one person. One person can change everything. You of all people should know that." In May, Dominic asks her to marry him again. They are in the brownstone, their brownstone, the house they shared during their first marriage. It has been renovated, cleansed of whatever ghosts lingered in its rooms. Fresh paint, new furniture, a feeling of beginning rather than ending. He does not get down on one knee. That feels too performative, too borrowed from someone else's love story. Instead, he simply stands in the kitchen where they used to cook together, where they used to dance to music from the old radio, where they used to be happy before everything fell apart. "I do not have a ring," he says. "I do not have speeches prepared. I only have this. I love you. I have loved you since before you knew who I really was, and I love you more now that you know everything. I cannot promise you normal. I cannot promise you safe, but I can promise you honesty from this moment forward, and I can promise you that every day of my life will be dedicated to deserving you. Eleanor looks at this man, her complicated, contradictory, trying to be better man. The crime boss who teaches chess to children, the millionaire who funds mobile clinics, the husband who lied to protect her and divorced her to save her and loves her with an intensity that should be terrifying, but somehow is not. Yes, she says. She does not need to say anything else. The second wedding is nothing like the first. The first was small and secretive, surrounded by strangers, shadowed by lies she did not yet know existed. The second is held in June in the garden of the brownstone, with only the people who matter most in attendance. Elena's mother flies in from Florida, uncertain at first, then gradually charmed by Dominic's attentiveness and the obvious depth of his feelings. Her friends from the hospital come, confused by the luxury but happy to see her happy. Dominic's trusted inner circle, Marco, Marta, the lawyers and advisors who have become something like family, fill the remaining seats. The ceremony is simple. No grand gestures, no orchestrated spectacle, just two people standing in the summer sunlight, making promises they finally understand the weight of. I promise to tell you the truth, Dominic says, his voice steady, even when it is difficult. Even when I am ashamed. I promise to let you see all of me, the light and the shadow, and to trust you with both. I promise to stay, Elena responds, not because I do not have a choice, but because I choose this. I choose you, all of you, including the parts that are still finding their way toward the light. The kiss that seals their vows feels different from any that came before, not desperate or passionate or driven by crisis, simply sure, certain, a foundation rather than a fire. The reception spills into the evening, guests mingling in the garden as lanterns glow and music plays. Softly, Elena watches her two worlds merge, hospital colleagues chatting with former enforcers, her mother laughing at something Marco said, Marta presiding over the kitchen like a benevolent general. Happy? Dominic asks, appearing at her side with a glass of champagne. Terrified, she admits, and happier than I have ever been. Those two things do not have to be contradictory. No, I am learning that. The months after the wedding are a study in integration. Elena continues her work at the mobile clinic, expanding its services, securing additional funding through the foundation. She becomes a bridge between Dominic's world and the communities they serve, her medical expertise lending credibility to their philanthropic efforts. She also becomes unexpectedly a voice within the organization itself. You have instincts, Dominic tells her one evening, after she has talked him out of a business deal that felt wrong. You see things I miss because I am too close. I see people. That is what nurses do. We see the patient, not just the symptoms. Then keep seeing, keep telling me what you see. She does. She points out employees who are struggling, suggests support systems. She identifies partnerships that feel exploitative, pushes for more equitable arrangements. She brings a perspective shaped by healing rather than conquest, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, the organization shifts. By fall, Dominic has finalized the transition of 3 major operations from grey market to fully legitimate. The news is celebrated quietly, champagne in the brownstone, smiles exchanged between people who understand what it means. This is your doing, Dominic tells her that night. None of this would have happened without you. This is your doing, she corrects gently. You started this years before I knew the truth. I just helped you see the finish line. You are my finish line, Eleanor. Everything I have done, everything I am trying to become, it is for you. Then keep going. There is more work to do. There is always more work. The legitimate businesses require attention. The foundation expands its programs. Community relationships need nurturing. Elena finds herself becoming a public face of sorts, the wife of a prominent businessman and philanthropist, which is how Dominic is increasingly known outside certain circles. She gives interviews about the mobile clinic. She speaks at charity events. She learns to navigate a world of wealth and influence that feels alien but is beginning to feel like home. And through it all, she holds on to the truth that most of these smiling donors and earnest reporters will never know. That underneath the polished public image lies a more complicated history. That redemption is not a destination but a daily choice. "Do you ever regret it?" she asks Dominic one night after a particularly exhausting gala. "The truth, I mean. Telling me everything, letting me into your real world." He considers the question seriously, the way he considers everything now. No more quick deflections, no more careful masks. "I regret the years I wasted hiding. I regret the pain I caused you by lying, but regret telling you the truth? Never, not for a single moment. Even when it makes things harder. Especially then. Hard and honest is better than easy and false. I learned that lesson too late, but I learned it." In December, almost a year after that terrible New Year's Eve when Elena signed divorce papers, in tears, she gives Dominic a gift that changes everything again. A positive test, 2 lines, a future neither of them dared to hope for after the loss that shattered them both. "Are you sure?" Dominic asks, his voice barely a whisper. "After everything? After what happened before? I'm sure." Elena takes his hands, places them against her still flat stomach. "It is early. Anything could happen. But I wanted you to know. I wanted us to face it together this time. No secrets." He falls too, his knees pressing his forehead against her belly, and she feels his tears soaking through her shirt. "I will protect you," he murmurs. "Both of you. I will protect you with everything I have." "I know," she says, stroking his hair. "But you do not have to do it alone anymore. We protect each other now." The pregnancy proceeds cautiously. Elena reduces her hours at the clinic. Dominic reduces his travel. They attend every appointment together, hold their breath at every milestone, dare a little. More hope with each passing week. At 12 weeks, the point where they lost their first, they wait in the doctor's office for results that will determine whether they can finally exhale. The heartbeat is strong. The development is normal. All signs point toward a healthy pregnancy. Elena cries. Dominic cries. The doctor tactfully excuses herself to give them privacy. "We made it," Elena whispers. "The baby made it. Because of you. Because you are the strongest person I have ever known. Because of us. Because we finally stopped keeping secrets and started fighting together." The baby arrives in July, in the middle of a heat wave that has the entire city melting. Elena labors for 18 hours, Dominic beside her through every moment. He holds her hand during contractions, feeds her ice chips between them, tells her stories about their future that she cannot quite hear, but desperately needs. When their daughter finally emerges, screaming, healthy, impossibly perfect, the room seems to hold its breath. "She looks like you," Elena says, exhausted but radiant. "She looks like hope," Dominic responds. They name her Sophia, after Elena's grandmother. She has her mother's dark eyes and her father's stubborn chin. She is loud and demanding and absolutely, completely miraculous. The first months of parenthood are a chaos of sleepless nights and endless feedings. Dominic, who commands an empire, cannot command his daughter to stop crying at 3 in the morning. Eleanor, who manages medical emergencies with professional calm, cannot manage to shower before noon. They figure it out together. Tag-teaming night shifts, learning to swaddle from YouTube videos, accepting help from Marta, who moves into the Brownstones' guest room and becomes an essential lifeline. "You are good at this," Eleanor tells Dominic one morning, watching him rock Sophia back to sleep after a feeding. "I have excellent teachers," he says, nodding toward her and Marta. "You have excellent instincts. She trusts you. She is the only person in the world who does not know who I was." His voice is soft. "To her, I am just her father, nothing else." That is who you are becoming to everyone. The father, the husband, the businessman, the philanthropist. The person you are growing into is replacing the person you used to be. Is that enough? Can people really change that fundamentally? Eleanor considers the question. A year ago, she would have said no. She was raised to believe that people are fixed, predictable, defined by their choices and unable to escape them. But she has seen Dominic change, not in grand transformations but in daily choices, choosing transparency over secrecy, choosing patience over anger, choosing to build rather than destroy. Change is not a single decision. It is 1,000 small decisions, made over and over, until they become habit and then character. You are proof that they can, she says. Sophia's first Christmas is celebrated in the brownstone surrounded by the extended family they have built, Elena's mother, the clinic staff, Marco and the trusted members of the organization who have become genuine friends rather than obligatory colleagues. The house is full of noise and laughter and the controlled chaos of too many people who care about each other trying to fit into one space. Elena watches it all from the living room doorway, Sophia sleeping in her arms. You look contemplative, Dominic observes, joining her. I was thinking about last year, New Year's Eve, signing those divorce papers alone in my apartment while you were fighting a war I did not know existed. A lot can change in a year. Everything can change, if you let it, if you fight for it. He wraps an arm around her, pulling her and Sophia close. What do you fight for? He asks. This, us, the family we are building, the future we are creating. And what do I fight for? Redemption. She looks up at him. You are still fighting for it. Every day, and every day you get a little closer. Will I ever reach it? I do not think redemption is a destination. I think it is a direction, and you are pointed the right way. The new year arrives quietly. No dramatic crises, no enemies at the gate. Just a family gathered in a warm house, counting down to midnight while a baby sleeps upstairs, oblivious to the passing of time. At midnight, Dominic kisses Eleanor, a soft, certain kiss that speaks of years still to come. Their guests cheer. Fireworks explode over the city. Somewhere a new chapter begins. Happy New Year, Elena says. Happy new life, Dominic responds. It is not a perfect life. There are still complications. The past does not disappear just because you choose a different future. Business challenges, security concerns. The occasional reminder that Dominic's history includes chapters that cannot be erased. But there is also love. Genuine, tested, chosen love. There is a daughter who giggles at her father's silly faces and reaches for her mother's hair. There is a community that supports them, a purpose that drives them, a future that belongs to them if they are brave enough to claim it. One evening, as winter settles over the city and Sophia takes her first wobbling steps across the living room floor, Elena realizes something that might be the most important truth of all. She thought, on that terrible New Year's Eve 2 years ago, that she was ending her story. Signing the divorce papers felt like closing a book, final and irreversible. But she was wrong. That moment was not an ending. It was a transition. The painful, necessary passage from a life built on lies to a life built on truth. The woman who signed those papers, crying, alone, unaware of who her husband really was, would not recognize the woman standing in this brownstone today, not because she has become someone different, but because she has become more fully herself, stronger, wiser, more capable of love and of accepting love in return. And Dominic, the crime boss who divorced his wife to save her, who fought a war while she slept peacefully unaware, who has spent every day since trying to become worthy of her forgiveness, he has changed too. The darkness is not gone. It will never be entirely gone. But it is balanced now by light, by purpose, by the daily choice to be better than he was yesterday. They are not a perfect couple. They still argue about small things and occasionally about large things. They still carry wounds from the lies that started their relationship and the truth that nearly ended it. But they are real, and they are together. And in a world full of fairy tales and fantasies, sometimes the most powerful story is simply this: two imperfect people, trying their best, building something beautiful from broken pieces. If you have watched this far, it is because you felt something. You felt the weight of secrets and the liberation of truth. You felt the terror of losing everything and the miracle of finding it again. You are not just a viewer. You are part of this story now, so leave a comment saying, I have watched this far, so I can get to know you and see who really enjoys the stories here on the channel. If this story touched your heart, click the like button If you know someone who needs to hear that redemption is possible, share this video with them. And if you have not already subscribed, do it now. Because this is just the beginning. There are more stories, waiting to be told. Stories of love and loss, of darkness and light, of ordinary people facing extraordinary circumstances and finding the courage to survive. This is where those stories live. This is where you belong. Subscribe, comment, like, share, and come back soon. Because the best stories are the ones we experience together. Sophia takes another step across the living room, tumbles into her father's waiting arms, and laughs with the pure joy of a child who has never known fear. Dominic catches Elena's eye over their daughter's head. In his gaze she sees everything, the apologies still unspoken, the gratitude that has no words, the love that survived lies and distance, and divorce papers signed in tears on a New Year's Eve that seems now like it happened to someone else. "I love you," he mouths silently. "I know," she mouths back. Outside, the city hums with its millions of lives, its countless dramas, its endless beginnings and endings. But in this brownstone in Brooklyn, in this moment suspended between heartbeats, there is only this: a family, imperfect and real, holding on to each other and refusing to let go. The story does not end here. Stories never really end. They simply pause, waiting for the next chapter to begin. But if this chapter has taught us anything, it is this: sometimes the person you think you know is a stranger. Sometimes the ending you fear is actually a beginning. And sometimes, if you are brave enough to stay, to fight, to forgive, the love you thought you lost returns stronger than before. On New Year's Eve, she signed the divorce papers in tears, unaware her ex-husband was the mafia boss. But that is not how her story ends. Her story ends with this: a house full of light, a child full of wonder, and a love that refused to die no matter how many times it was buried. Some stories are about escape. This one was about coming home. And home, Elena has learned, is not a place. It is a choice. It is a person. It is the moment you decide that the truth, however painful, is better than the most beautiful lie. She chose truth. She chose him. She chose this messy, complicated, impossible life, and she has never once regretted it. Not even for a moment. Not even when the nights are long and the doubts creep in, and the past whispers its warnings in her ear. Because every morning she wakes up next to a man who loves her without conditions. Every morning she hears her daughter's laughter echoing through halls that were once filled with secrets. Every morning she remembers that she is not just surviving anymore, she is living, fully, fiercely, finally. That is her story. That is their story. And now, in some small way, it is your story too. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for believing that even in the darkest moments, light can find a way through. Until next time.